I met a gypsy.
My will to win was greater than the fear. So then I had to, if I let fear control me and everything, then I never would have gone as fast as what I did. So I would figure out how to be fast without, the same risk. And then there, of course, takes a little bit of fear out of it. But it's also, for example, going through turn 3 at Philip Island or turn 3 at Valencia, the way I used to go through them, it's a lot to overcome. Like the way you've got to crack the throttle on at those speeds. Phillip Island's 5th gear, right? We're going through there. It's 265 going into the corner, k's an hour down through the dip, and because you're always getting a big push of wind from the inside going out to the ocean there, a lot of the time when you're pushing in through there, the front end wants to go. And I was saying before, I don't like the front end. I don't like the feeling of it compared to other people. I never had confidence. So as soon as you cock that front end, you can't crash with the front. If you think about it, as soon as you've got a little cock in your front end, basically, that doesn't sound right. Dirt track style, you can't lose the front. So basically, I would slide before I even got to the corner. And this is where people don't realize, number one, the difficulty, the overcoming the fear, and then why it works. Is that when you go into the corner and you have to get that rear to brake before you get to the corner, because otherwise, as soon as you get into the corner, your front end's dictating everything, and you don't start to slide until you come out of the corner. And then that's just sliding. That's not hard. These bikes have a lot of power. It's really not hard to slide these things. But sliding them before you get to the corner. So I've got to go in, back off, just to get the front to load a little bit, and then I would crack the throttle on as soon as I could to get that rear to brake, and basically just get that little bit of cock on the front corner, on the front tire, and then basically I couldn't lose it. So then I could just control it, try and almost stand it up, and then straight line it out of that corner, and then I could straight line brake going into Honda, which is very hard. Normally you drift out, then you've got to brake on the left side, bring it back. So you're braking on the edge, then bringing it back, braking on the edge of the tire. So it's a heavy braking zone that you've got two edges to brake on. For me, I would slide through that corner, stay further left, and then I could just pick it up and brake straight, and then take all the risk out of Honda. So there's a lot of reasons why I did things, but to overcome the power. And it was the same thing I used to do in Valencia. So turn 3 in Valencia, it's hard. Same thing. You can go through there and slide, but you've already missed the whole point of it. So I had to slide before I got the corner, and throwing it in there was really hard and risky. I never did crash there doing it, but if things went wrong, it's you're going into the grandstand sort of thing. But basically, I'd go up, come out first, second, third, short shift, and then throw it. And then by throwing it, I'm sliding all the way in through the corner. And I can stay further left, because same thing, I never liked the feeling of the front end. And you'd always have to brake on the edge of the tyre, bring it back, and then go into the right-hander on the edge of the tyre, cold side of the tyre. I didn't like it. So what I would do is slide, stay further left, brake in a straighter line. Then I could basically get the tyre warm and then ease my way into the right-hander without risk. So I didn't like that right-hander, so I just went, well, the left side of the tyre is warm because we've been spinning it through turn 13, 14. Then turn 1, turn 2, all left-handers. So the left side's warm. I can trust this as long as you trust your slide. But then the right side was always cold, and it's one of the most dangerous corners probably in the world for crashing. And so, I just took the risk out of those corners by doing that. But everyone just saw me as I was sliding it through the corner, coming out. But there's a lot more to it.
That is so insane. That makes perfect sense, like, when you frame it in the flat track sense as well. Because really, like, the only way that you can lose the front end on a flat tracker is as you're turning away, and then you initially chuck it, and right before you bring it back. So that little dip, but I mean, that feels pretty safe. Like, we were actually only just flat tracking the other day, and like I did 1,000 laps on the 125, just that exact feeling. That is the point of the corner where you have the most confidence to tuck the front that little bit, and then it brings you into the slide, and then you power out. But I guess from the outside looking in, you just see this little dude going, what? 5th gear wide open around a turn at Phillip Island, and you think, like, he's fucking crazy. But in your head, that's your way of making that corner as safe as possible.
Yep. And nobody really knew why.
That's fucking mind blowing. But that makes so much sense. And so you're working your way around each of these tracks, trying to figure out the safest way. But so I guess the thing is that you've got to kind of do, because I can imagine that would be like, that's a lot of throttle to step out a MotoGP bike, because you're already going,
we're already doing 265.
So like, that's a massive commitment to go like, okay, this is the safest way. I'm going to tip her in a little bit. I'm going to give her like a bit of the old flick and then straight on the gas. Like, that's a lot of commitment.
Especially for me, it was in qualifying with new tyres. It's even harder to step out. So when the tyres are older, they step out a lot easier. But when you got new tyres and the thing's all gripped up, first lap out, and you've got to try and, push that really hard through there, that was the hardest. But I think in 2011, because 2012, it was raining a little bit, conditions weren't great. But we went in there at 265, and then the slowest point of that corner was 258. So I only lost 7 k's an hour between backing off for that half a second. It was only literally half a second back off before I cracked it again to get it through there. So I only lost 7 k's an hour through turn 3 at Philip Island. It was pretty good.
That is insane. Do you remember the first time you figured that out? Was there like, because I always wonder that, like, you imagine, we'll just go moto, Bubba. When was was there a first time where he scrubbed and was like, looked back and was like,
I've just pulled a second on these guys.
What did I just do? Like, was that the moment? Was it like that where, like, say turn 3, when you just bop and you're like, oh, okay, that's how I got to do it? Or is it like this theory that you've got in your head and then it's like this slow application over time?
No, it was just that, as we were talking about before, it was building of knowledge. It was just gathering, data and basically trial and error. Luckily not too much error in that my department. But basically it was just me trying things. Like I said, I used to try a lot of things with body position, etc., etc. I'm not just a one-dimensional rider. I was always trying different things and watching other people. That's why I always loved having a fast teammate, because I could always learn from them. But for me, it was trial and error. It wasn't me sitting down and thinking this. It was like, well, this makes me feel a lot more comfortable through here. Now I need to make sure that I'm not overspinning the tyre, because everybody thinks you go through there, you're spinning the tyre, you're just chewing it up and ruining it. And in Philip Island, I always had to be cautious of it, because there was a few corners that I did used to spin. So then I had to take it easier on other corners to drop the tyre temperatures back down, just to make sure that we didn't, overheat them and destroy them during the race. But those kind of things, I never liked the feeling of the front end being pushed by the wind. So as soon as I got in MotoGP where I had power, I'm like, well, I need to get this thing cocked as soon as early as possible coming out of the corner. And then basically I went, well, there's a big tyre bundle on the inside of that corner.
Yeah.
And it blocks the wind. So you get a bit of a crosswind going into it. Then there's a patch where it blocks the wind. And then if it's really blowing, it comes out the other side and on the far side of it, and then all of a sudden hits you, and that's when it wants to blow your front end out. So I had to make sure that I had it gone before I came out and hit that wind. So basically I just got earlier and earlier and earlier at doing it and more confident. And the earlier I did it, people think you're spinning the whole way through, but I can spin it early and then actually reduce the spin the whole way out of the corner.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody else is going through the corner and then spinning all the way out, whereas I'm doing the opposite. I'm actually spinning and then reducing the spin on the way out. And
so who were you like working on this kind of stuff with? Who were you talking to about it, or was this just all internal?
This is all me.
That's so
I didn't ever have anyone to work with. So my engineer was good. I used to talk to him about things and explain to him what I was doing. But we never discussed how I had to ride. He never, ever told me how I had to ride. I never had anyone giving me any advice on how to ride. This was all just me watching other people, figuring out what I needed to do, how to go faster than everybody. And, sometimes it was just literally taking the brain out. You had to if you want to win races, you had to push harder than other people. And especially that was the case in the rain. It was there's a lot of skill in the rain, but at the same time, when the fears catch you in the rain, they can be very hard to shake sometimes.
Yeah.
And whenever they caught me, where I just started to be real teetery and feel like I was going to crash all the time, literally I'd go out next session and just go, right, I'm either going to fix this or crash.
Yeah.
And it was just make it happen. As simple as that. So this is where, like I said, we were talking about the anxiety thing, and it was just me shutting myself down and going, make it happen. Stop being such a pussy, basically, and get on with it.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.